about some practice test questions that could easily come out on your exams. So first, this will be the number 1 from your handout. Given that f of x is equal to tangent of 2x, what is f prime of pi over 6? So here, in order for us to do this one, we have to realize that we have to use the chain rule here. Outer layer being the tangent, and inner layer being the 2x. So what is the derivative of tangent? That's right, it is equal to secant squared. And we gotta bring down whatever was inside, and then we gotta multiply that by the derivative of the inside, which will be simply equal to 2. Now, so when you plug in pi over 6 in place of x, what we'll end up getting is this. And we'll end up getting secant square of pi over 3. You see, because of 2 cancels out with 6. Multiply that by 2. Now, then in this case, what is secant? Those of you who like to look at this from cosine or sine perspective, this in fact will be equal to 2 over cosine square of pi over 3. Now then, what is cosine of pi over 3? In fact, that's equal to 1/2. So this will be equal to 2 over 1/2 squared, which will, in fact, will get us the answer 8. All right, let's go for number 2. Here we have instantaneous rate of change. We're talking about f prime derivative. That's what we're looking at. When x equals 2. So now, when you want to try to look into this question, easily what we can do is we can try to set up the quotient rule. Now, and f prime would have been, let's look at the denominator square first, x minus 1 squared. How about the numerator? So we have 2x, which is the derivative of the top, multiply that by x minus 1, minus x squared, minus 2, which is top times the derivative of the bottom, which will be simply equal to 1. Now, what we have to do is plug in 2 in place of x's. Now then, f prime of 2 then essentially is equal to 4 times 1 minus 2 times 1 all over 1, which will equal to 2. So therefore, our answer will be choice D. All right, let us move on to number 3. Here, in this case, one thing that which we get to realize is this: g of x has to be greater than 0 no matter what. Now, here, if you had to take this one as a derivative, h prime of x should have been f prime of g of x, and then plus f times g prime of x. That's what we're supposed to end up getting. But we realize that this portion is equal to h of x, just like it is written right over here. Therefore, if you have to simply substitute h prime of x is equal to f prime and times g plus h prime of x, then you will realize that this will cancel out with this one. Hence, we will end up getting 0, which is equal to f prime times g. But we know that g will never be equal to 0 because they're all greater than 0. That means the only thing that's possible will be f prime of x should always be equal to 0. That's the conclusion that we end up getting. Then, let's think about this one. F prime is equal to 0. That means we have horizontal slope, which happen to pass us through y value of 1. That means no matter what x is equal to, because of the horizontal slope, the value of y wouldn't change and it still becomes 1. All right, let us move on to the next question. Here we're looking at number 4. We are looking at the implicit differentiation here for this question. So when you take the derivative of x squared, it becomes 2x plus the derivative of x times y will be by the product rule, x times y prime plus y times x prime, which is equal to 1. And then the other side is supposed to be equal to 0. Now, then we know what to plug in for x. How about y? If you think about this one, when you plug in 2 in place of the original equation, we get 2 squared plus 2 times y has to be equal to 10. Then here you can easily solve that y must be equal to 3. Now, then once you plug in 2 for x and y for 3, then we'll end up getting something like this. 2 times 2 plus 2 times y prime plus 3 is equal to 0. So when you bring it over, we get to realize that 2y prime will be equal to negative 7. Therefore, y prime must be equal to negative 7 over 2. And the A would have been our answer. Alright, let us move on. Here we have our chain rule. If you're to rewrite this expression by itself, then this will be something like this. Cosine of x cubed entire thing squared. The square actually impacts in that way. Then you can easily see that we have 3 layers of chain rule. Then first, when you take the derivative, we end up getting 2 cosine of x cubed. By the power rule, 2 becomes 1. Now we have to multiply by what's inside, which is the derivative of cosine becomes negative sine of x cubed. Now as a third layer, we have to take the derivative of the innermost, which is x cubed, which will give us 3x squared. Now once we multiply, we get negative 6x squared. And then cosine of x cubed times sine of x cubed. Alright, then anything that has that as the answer, which will be choice D, becomes our answer. Alright, here the next question. F prime of negative 1, then f prime simply becomes negative 3x squared plus 1, and then negative 1 over x squared. So once you plug in negative 1 for all of them, we'll end up getting negative 3 plus 1 and then minus 1. Therefore, our final answer becomes negative 3, which is choice D. Alright, next question. Here you can see that we have to use the product rule, along with that maybe chain rule too, because f prime becomes x times square root of this one. Let's call this one as maybe u. What is the u prime? U prime becomes 1/2 and 2x minus 3 to the negative 1/2 power by the power rule. Multiply that by 2. Then 2 and 2 cancels out. So therefore, f prime of x is equal to x times the derivative of that, which will be equal to 1 over square root of 2x minus 3. Plus, the other side becomes square root of 2x minus 3, and then times 1, which will be simply same. Now, obviously, we don't see these as the answers, so let's make the common denominator. Bring this one over 1, then we get to realize f prime is equal to, here, first we have x over square root of 2x minus 3. Second one becomes 2x minus 3 all over square root of 2x minus 3. Then we get to realize that numerator becomes 3x minus 3. Entire thing over 2x minus 3. That becomes our answer, which is choice A. Alright, so let's look at the next question, number 8. Here we have chain rule, but we have fractional exponents, but still it will be exactly the same. F prime becomes 2/3 times x squared minus 2x minus 1, and then it becomes negative 1/3 as an exponent. Now, so by the chain rule, we have to multiply this one by 2x minus 2. And once you plug in 0, in this case, we'll end up getting negative 2 over 3 times negative 2, which will be equal to 4 over 3. So that becomes our final answer. Alright, how about this one? We have to use the chain rule once again. F prime now then becomes 2 times x minus 1, and then derivative of it is inside, which will be equal to 1. Once you plug in 0 in place of x, then we get to realize we have 2 times negative 1 times positive 1, which will be equal to negative 2. Alright, so the next question. We have y given as a tangent x and negative cotangent of x. Now, what is the derivative of that? In fact, this is relatively simple because derivative of tangent x is secant square x minus derivative of cotangent x is negative cosecant square x. So therefore, these two becomes positive, then our answer becomes E, right over here. Next question. Now we have to take the derivative once again, then f prime becomes 3 over 2 times x to the negative 1, a positive 1/2. Now, once you plug in 4 over there, then we end up getting 3 over 2 times square root of 4, which simply becomes 3. That's our final answer. Alright, how about the next one? Here we see the definition of derivative. If you remember the definition of derivative, it looks like f of x plus h minus f of x. Entire thing divided by h as h approaches 0. Now, when you compare two expressions, this will be the most easiest thing to look for. F of x must be the second term on the fraction. Since f of x must be tangent of 3x, then f prime, which is the expression that's given, is secant square of 3x multiplied by what's inside, which will be equal to 3. So therefore, our final answer becomes choice B. Alright, next question. Here we have to take the derivative 2 times. It's called the double derivative. Now here then we end up first y prime becomes 2 times derivative of cosine becomes negative sine negative sine of x over 2, and then derivative of x over 2 becomes 1/2. Hence these two cancels out. Now, but y double prime, which would be same thing as the derivative, and then here we have negative derivative of sine becomes cosine, and x over 2, and then derivative of the inside becomes 1/2. So when you combine them together, we end up getting choice E. Alright, the next question. Here, if you have to take the derivative, what we end up getting is this. F of x is same as 2x to the 1/2 power. So therefore, f prime becomes 1/2 times 2x. Multiply that by that. By the chain rule, we have 2. Multiplying. So these two cancels out. We ultimately have 1 over square root of 2x. Now when you plug in 2 in place of x, we'll end up getting 1/2, which is our answer, choice B. Alright, how about this one? If the sine of x is given, the prime becomes cosine of x. But what is the value of x? X is equal to pi over 3. So this one has to be cosine of pi over 3, which will be in fact equal to 1/2. Alright, so with that we are concluding the first part. Please practice with the second part later. Thank you.